Boom shakalaka. What's going on, everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love, and I am joined today by Dr. Arthur Gervais from Liquidity Network. Hello, Arthur.
Hi, everybody.
It is a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm quite excited about this project. So we've got some questions for you about Liquidity Network, but before we get into that, why don't we just start off, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So I was born in Germany. My father's French, my mother's German. So I have like dual nationality, dual citizenship. So I'm kind of feel like a European. So I've always been like traveling a lot within Europe, but also over the world. Studied in France and the Scandinavian countries, and did my PhD in Switzerland, which is in itself actually very international, which is great. And my PhD was on the security, privacy, and scalability of proof of work blockchains. So this means anything related to Bitcoin, Ethereum, so these open and decentralized blockchains.
That's great. And I saw you already created a product called Securify that helps keep Ethereum smart contracts safe.
That's correct. Yes. So it's a one-click formal verification tool for EVM, so Ethereum virtual machine-based smart contracts. So it's very simple. You just go to securify.ch, copy paste your Solidity code or EVM bytecode, both works, in the field. Click one button, and then you get a report. So it's as simple as that. Yeah, and that's actually a separate spin-off that I'm co-founder of now.
Awesome. So tell us about Liquidity Network, because this is pretty big. So fill us in.
Yes. So, I mean, over the course of my PhD, I've like spent a lot of time thinking about blockchains, about analyzing their security and their scalability properties. And I came to the realization that we can't really scale those blockchains. We need some kind of a new design, some kind of new thinking of how to do transactions among peers. Because in Bitcoin or Ethereum, if I'm sending a transaction to you, I'm not actually sending it to you. I'm sending it to everyone in the network, and obviously this is very expensive. So what the Liquidity Network is about is to cut the costs of transactions in order to, if I send you a transaction, that's probably only you and me and maybe an intermediary that knows about it, but no, not anybody else who doesn't actually need to know about it, right? And that's the Liquidity Network. So it's basically a so-called off-chain network, which introduces payment hubs. So you can think of it like payment hub is where many people can connect to. And then these people, they can trade over this hub with each other. And each transaction doesn't go on the blockchain. It's like off the blockchain. That's why off-chain protocols or second layer protocols, as some people refer them to. And inherently, there's no gas costs that is associated to those transfers.
Okay. Yeah, that is, I mean, it's a pretty awesome concept that you're coming up with. Now, there's a few other people who have already come up with a similar concept. So we have things like the Lightning Network, like Raiden, like Trinity. Can you talk about how Liquidity Network compares with those?
Of course, we are by far not the first to propose second layer payment solutions, as you just mentioned. There are a few other projects that have been working on this for a few years now, which is great, and it advances the state of the blockchain. They, however, have some fundamental design flaws. So what basically all these projects, I mean, Lightning was the first. So Raiden is a copy of Lightning, and Trinity is another copy of Lightning. So what Lightning proposed is so-called two-party payment channels. So let's say this is a payment channel, and at the end of each of this channel, there's one participant. Okay, so it's literally a channel across which you can send payments, like from this person to this person, and from this person back to this person. So it's bi-directional. How this channel works is that this participant here, he needs to deposit some collateral here. So it's like literally I'm taking one ether and I'm opening a channel. I'm saying I will use one ether in this channel with this other person, and this person can do the same. So this means that you lock collateral here with a very specific person, and you can't use it with anybody else, right? It's like literally blocked and frozen with this counterparty. So there's actually a way of how to go further and to send it to another peer. So for example, let me find another pencil. I love these pencils. So let's say we have now 3 participants in 2 channels, right? So this is one channel, this is one channel. At the edge of each of these channels, there's a participant. So you can send a payment from this to this person, okay? But this again means that here, this participant, he needs to lock collateral so that this participant can forward a payment to this participant. So there's a lot of locked collateral everywhere here. And this peer here, he might go down and then, oh, they cannot communicate anymore with each other, right? So it's very, it's a very complex design. And this is actually also one of the reasons why Lightning takes like just years to get started. And I mean, I've been there in Hong Kong in 2015, scaling Bitcoin where it was proposed. It's just very complex, and Liquidity is a new redesign of how to do off-chain payments, which is just simpler and more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Now, in Liquidity, you were talking about having these large nodes there, as opposed to just having the individuals. Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yes. So you can think of it like as a payment hub. So let's say this is a payment hub. Millions of people can be connected to this particular hub. But there could be several hubs, right? So you can have like 1 million users here, 1 million users here. And those hubs, they could be connected together so that if I am participant of this hub, then I can send the payment over to another hub. So the good thing is that the network, because it's these hubs, they can serve many users. You won't need very complex routing routes among different hubs, and these routes here are fairly long-lived and static, so they will not change much over time, which makes the routing, like the hopping from one hub to the other, just easier to manage. So let's focus only on one hub. So one of the features that Liquidity Network offers that current two-party payment channels such as Lightning don't offer is off-chain registration. So let's assume you want to become member of this particular hub. So how do you join it? In Lightning, you would join a hub by depositing some coins, right? You need to open a channel by doing an on-chain transaction. This costs gas, this costs time. So in Lightning, in Liquidity, you can do this for free. You basically sign a TCP message with your private key. You just send it to the server that is associated to the hub smart contract, and then you're part of the Liquidity Network, and you can directly receive off-chain funds. There's no further action required. So in practical terms, what does that mean? It means if you install the Liquidity mobile app, you're directly part of the Liquidity Network. You do not need to purchase crypto in advance or to charge your wallet and then register with an off-chain network.
Okay. Why is it, this is one thing that I'm having difficulty understanding. Why is it that you don't need to have any collateral on Liquidity, or you use collateral handled in bulk in Liquidity? Can you explain that?
Sure. So there is still collateral in Liquidity. In particular for trustless operation, this is required. However, the collateral is no longer rigid. So in Lightning, you have two-party payment channels. If this party has collateral, it's only usable with this party, right? Or among a route with other peers. But this is very rigid, and it can't be used with other people. In the hub setting, the hub has an amount of collateral, and this amount of collateral can be used with all the participants that are in this network, which makes it much more easy to manage the collateral for the hub operator.
Okay, yeah, that actually that makes sense. That explains it now. So about a week ago, Liquidity Network was just endorsed by Vitalik. He tweeted that he's looking forward to seeing this coming out. Do you have any thoughts as to why he endorsed it?
It came to a surprise to us as well. But we believe in our technology, and we are very much research driven. As I'm at Imperial College London, Rami is at ETH Zurich. We have done a lot of academic work. I have over 8 papers that try to improve blockchain technology and that are peer reviewed in tier 1 conferences. So we have been working in the space for a while. I mean, myself, almost 6 years full time now. So it's certainly great to see that that very important figures in the space recognize that there might be something very interesting and very promising coming.
Yeah, that's a really big endorsement because he doesn't say that about a lot of projects.
It's very humbling, I have to say. Yeah, we're deeply thankful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still waiting for him to endorse my channel, but I think that may be a long time coming. Now, right now, you're working on Liquidity Network being available for Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, and also Rootstock, so kind of Bitcoin as well. Are you thinking about different blockchains in the future, like Neo, Icon, maybe EOS, stuff like that?
Sure. I mean, we're not bound to any particular technology, to any particular blockchain. We are fascinated by technology. So it means that whatever is the best technology in terms of openness, in terms of decentralization, in terms of security properties, we're very happy to support those. I think that's just I think that's very natural. And who knows which blockchain in the end is going to be the one, or if there will be several that stay around. So we have implemented it now on Ethereum, because Ethereum is just the one that is the most widely used in terms of development community, in order to get more developers on Liquidity as well that wants to build on top of Liquidity. It is the one that has the most accessible smart contract language so far, and like among those that are the most widely used. But there might be others that we will be looking at, and we have already had discussions with a few projects.
All right, and right now you're already on testnet, and you said potentially doing mainnet before the ICO.
So yes, so the ICO is scheduled for the 14th of June. And the mainnet is scheduled for June. So there will be kind of an overlap.
So it sounds like you'll be pretty busy in the next couple of months.
We are already very busy. Yes. The testnet has been operational for over 2 months. It's been a great experience. We have also a mobile app now in invite-only beta, so it's already operational. We're testing it currently with a few people that we're inviting, which is great. If you have tried out the Web3 version, which is the online version right now, there basically you have to sign things. Like, for example, if you receive a payment, you have to sign a receipt. Thanks, yes, I received the payment. So there are a few things that the user needs to do in order to interact, which is simple, but it's not the most simple thing. While with the mobile app, things get much more fluent, I believe, and that's just great for everybody to use them.
So reading through your white paper, there were a few different ideas or projects that you're working on with Liquidity Network. There's the network, there's the exchange, there's Revive, and then there's also airdrop. So I want to make sure you touch on all those while we're here today. Can you speak about them?
Of course. Which one should I start with?
All right. So I think Liquidity Network we spoke about. How about talking about the exchange?
Okay, exchange. You're familiar with traditional exchanges, right? A traditional exchange is a custodian. It's a bank. So you're sending money to the bank, and then you tell the bank, "Hi, I would like to buy this much Ether for this much euros or tokens or whatever," right? And then they are exchanging it and accrediting it in their books for your account. And then maybe at some point you're taking your money out, or if you're too late, then maybe the exchange was hacked and you lost everything. Then there are the decentralized exchanges like DEXs. What they do, they have they have two components. It's an order book, which can be just an off-chain order book, so just like a centralized order book. It can be an on-chain order book, like in EtherDelta, or it can be a reserve system, such as in Kyber. And then there's the transaction execution. So where does the actual swap happen, right? Where do you actually decide when do you change those, like Ether for token? And this is done on-chain in all current DEXs. And if I hear on-chain, I'm not happy. I don't like on-chain transactions because they're expensive and because they take up a lot of space in the blockchain, which could be used for other things. So the liquidity exchange, the fundamental difference from liquidity exchange to any other DEXs is that the transaction swap is performed off the chain. This means the liquidity network can function as a non-custodial exchange, so it can reach trading speeds of traditional centralized exchanges such as Kraken, Bitfinex, while not holding the user's funds, while not being a custodian. And this is the crucial difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference, because that way, I mean, if the network gets bogged down with like CryptoKitties or something, it's not going to affect your exchange.
Exactly. So the moment that the Ethereum blockchain is congested, all the DEXs, they will stop, like quasi stop trading, right? I mean, people will be reluctant on paying excessive transaction fees, while the liquidity exchange will not be affected by that to this degree.
That's huge. Okay, so now let's talk about Revive.
So Revive is so this was last year. Rami and I, we looked at the two-party payment channels like Lightning, and there was one problem, which is that if you have this route and you're basically using up the collateral here, then it's empty, right? And then you need to perform an on-chain transaction to top it up, and that's expensive. And we don't like on-chain transactions, right? We're all about kill the on-chain transactions. So if you have a cycle like this, you can actually rebalance the collateral that is set up between those nodes off the chain. So this means that Revive is a protocol to literally revive a channel without performing an on-chain transactions, but rather by using collateral that you have in other channels. So for example, if this channel here is depleted in this direction, so you can no longer send in this direction, but you can still send in this direction, then what you can do is you can take this collateral, put it here, and take this collateral and put it here, so that you can continue basically reviving this channel in this direction. That's basically the idea.
Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be really helpful when you have all these different nodes working at the same time.
Exactly. So it helps Lightning, helps Raiden and Trinity, so those particular two-party payment channels. And in Liquidity, we can also use it, for example, in a cycle of hubs, or there are different scenarios where this is very useful.
Okay, great. And then lastly, let's talk about airdrops. Everybody loves airdrops. They love their free tokens. Let's talk about these.
Yes. So an airdrop is, by definition, you send a small amount of tokens to thousands, if not millions of users. Now sending like $1 worth of token to 1 million users would cost you over 200,000 US dollar just in terms of gas costs, right? And this is quite expensive. So because transfers in Liquidity are gas free, both for Ether and for ERC20 tokens, we can do airdrops at no cost. So you can think of making actually multiple airdrops. So you're not only sending like once a small amount, but like several times very small amounts, maybe to keep user engaged or to keep them reminded, hey, I'm sending some more free money, some more free money. So you can think of new marketing strategies, you can think of new engagement possibilities, and you can actually use the money that you would spend on gas fees actually in tokens, right, that you send to your participants.
Yeah, I even saw you had a video of you demonstrating the wallets and just sending 5-way between the wallets, so you can do these teeny little microtransactions that you wouldn't be able to do on other networks.
That's correct. So this was actually a very early prototype that we had back in November, and this is still possible on the live version that we have on wallet.liquidity.network. But so it works with very tiny amounts, and that's the beauty of it, right? You can really send like tiny amounts without on-chain gas costs.
Great. So right now, there's only really like 2 people listed in your team, maybe some more people listed. And I know a lot of people probably question that, because when they look at ICOs, they look at the team, they look at the advisors, they want to make sure, there are people behind it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I was actually updating today the website and the white paper, and it's going to come tomorrow online, and they're going to be a total of 10 people. So we've been growing quite a lot. and with excellent people on the engineering side, on the marketing side, on the business side. So I'm really excited to soon announce, tomorrow, announce more people. Yeah.
So, in terms of similar projects, Lightning Network didn't have an ICO. Raiden and Trinity did. Why are you having an ICO, and then how is the token going to be used in the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I see a token as not only a technical necessity, but also, but rather a social economic necessity. So it's all about building a network, and within a network, people need to feel identified with this particular network. So you can think of liquidity as being kind of a blockchain on top of a blockchain. So you have Ethereum as the base blockchain, and liquidity is a second layer, which is the liquidity network, right? So how the token is being used is that if you're operating a hub, if we are, for example, operating a hub, there are certain professional services that we offer, like an API, like service level agreements, guaranteed transaction throughput, minimum availability, like 99.99% of online availability. And these services to the hub, they need to be paid in tokens. So we will only accept exclusively liquidity network tokens at the hub. This is what we're currently planning. So this means that someone that would like to use professional services from the hub operator needs to purchase tokens. Now, if there's a new hub now coming, because we will be open source, so other people will be able to operate hubs. The liquidity network hub that we have set up, it will only peer with another hub if this hub also only accepts liquidity as means of payment. So you can think of it as kind of an identifier of belonging to a particular network. So now the advantage for this new hub is the following. If this new hub is joining our network, all the users that are joining this hub will have access to the users that we have in our hub, right? So basically it's an advantage for this hub to join our hub, because the users here, they can perform a payment to our hub and then to the users there, and vice versa. So it's literally growing a network, and by identifying yourself as a token. So naturally, open and decentralized blockchains can fork, and that's very good that we have this possibility. So it could be that there's like a third hub. I don't have a third pen, but let's say this is a third hub, and he can choose to not accept liquidity. So he will then not be able to engage with the users of the liquidity network, right? Which is fine maybe if he wants to, but he will miss out on the users on the side.
I'm sure one question a lot of people are asking, because we have these talk about these big hubs with up to 100,000 people on them, how is that not centralized?
Good question. How do you define centralization?
That's a good question too. I can tell you're a professor, because they always answer questions with questions.
So I did actually a slide in our white paper specifically to answer that. So I would define centralization. There are different definitions within centralization. So it's about who owns the funds. So who is the custodian, right? So a bank is centralized in the degree that it is a custodian and it's only one entity. It's like one bank, right? If we look at the hub is not a custodian. So if the hub goes offline, or if the hub behaves maliciously, the users will always be able to take out their funds from the smart contract. That's very important, right? So that's the first property, the custodian or non-custodian property. The second property is redundancy. So if you talk about centralization, so would you say YouTube, for example, is centralized? Or the architecture behind YouTube, is it centralized, right? They have a content delivery network, so they have like servers worldwide, and they're offering they basically have servers worldwide so that they can push the video streams faster to the local audience. So the network itself is redundant, but the control is centralized in one entity, right? So in liquidity, you can also think that you can also build basically a hub which is redundant, so it has multiple servers as such, so load balancer and just multiple servers behind, so that if one server goes down, well, there's still a service, because you still have the other hubs that basically are there, the other servers, the other hub server that are there to offer the service. I think these are so I wouldn't see it, I mean, it's centralized in the sense that it's one entity, but the entity doesn't own the funds, right? So this is a very important difference. You can call it, I like this actually, there are a few people calling it centralized but not trusted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely the ability for people to be able to take their money back, that as opposed to a bank where they can't.
Right. I mean, if you wouldn't have this property, I wouldn't be working on this project, because then it would just be building a bank, and this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all of my questions, all the topics. Other than, what have we got coming up in the future? Anything upcoming, any roadmap, anything you want to talk about there?
Oh, yes. So we have the API that is soon to be rolled out. We're basically in the last steps of the testing internally. It's going to be a merchant API. So you can think of it similar to like APIs such as PayPal, where basically people can integrate it into their systems in order to accept off-chain payments, or we call it also liquid payments. There's the ICO coming up. There's the mobile app coming up, which is, I think, really important and very exciting. Not even Lightning. I mean, Lightning, they do have, so Async from Lightning has a mobile app, but it's only a unidirectional, so they only support unidirectional payment channels. So it's like only payments in one direction, and then you have to set up a second channel to go in the other direction, which is a bit cumbersome. So we're going to support bidirectional from the start, just like the web wallet works. There's actually no there's no mobile off-chain wallet for Ethereum at all right now. So we will be the first in Ethereum. There is the mainnet, very important, which is exciting. And in Q3, there's going to be the exchange. So not only are we going to be able to do payments across the hub, right? I mean, from one person to the other, payment in one direction, but actually a swap between tokens or Ether among these participants.
Wow. Yeah, so it sounds like you've got a lot coming up in a short time span.
Yes, and up to now, I mean, we haven't changed the roadmap, so far we were able to keep it, and we're doing our best to continue like that.
All right, great. So for the ICO, how can people get involved in that?
The easiest way is just to join our Telegram group. So it's Liquidity Network Telegram group. We have a very friendly bot who has been hard at work at collecting Ethereum addresses. And then the bot is basically guiding everyone on the process there. So we are doing a fairly strict KYC procedures, because we are compliant with Swiss anti-money laundering and know your customer regulations. We are also a licensed finance intermediary in Switzerland, so we will be audited. We are basically being audited every 6 months currently. So it's a lot of work. We need to comply with a lot of things. But we believe this is good for not only for our projects, but for the whole blockchain space as such, because it brings more legitimacy to the space.
Okay. And when again did you say was the ICO date?
14th of June.
14th of June. So you guys need to get in on that if you're interested. Before we close, anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered everything pretty well. I think what's for me the most exciting is to start seeing people actually developing apps on top of Liquidity. So, for example, using the API, or having new ideas on how to engage with users, because now they have this ability to actually do micropayments and to actually send many funds like instantly, right? These liquidity transactions are actually faster than on-chain transactions, to whoever who is also part of the Liquidity Network. So I'm actually quite curious to see, how the developer community will engage with that. This is very exciting, and we actually very much want to support developers that have projects that they want to come up on Liquidity.
Great. Yeah, I know for me, it's the more research I've done about the project, the more excited I've gotten about it, because I know that second layer solutions are going to be the way to really scale the blockchain and help get more people using it without even knowing they're using it. And
Exactly.
I think that's what will really help things grow. And so, yeah, the more research I've done, the more impressed I've become. But other than that, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. It's actually been a lot of fun talking with you.
Thank you, equally.
And yeah, so for everyone who's interested to do more research on Liquidity Network, thank you very much for joining us, and then I'll catch you later.
Thank you so
Peace.
much. Huh?